So I did do the request. They emailed me back. He did not go in for an autopsy. The death certificate was signed by the doctor at the hospital.
Again, everyone always has to think there's more to the story. Well, sometimes there's not. I've seen the autopsy report. I've seen our case pulled together.
Yahoo just publicly asked for Charlie Kirk's autopsy to never be revealed. Now, I'm not really sure why he would want to do this, guys. Like, probably no reason. He probably just doesn't want people to see, like, something maybe only his family can see, right, guys?
To have seen the autopsy report, to have seen the different evidence portions that have been collected, I trust our team.
Did Erika Kirk rush to have Charlie's body cremated before any independent medical review could even take place? That question is getting louder every single day, and people online are not letting it go. Critics claim Erika has changed her story more than once about what happened after the fatal incident. She publicly said she personally read a full post-incident medical report, speaking on it like it was final and official. But then a dispatch audio clip from the day of Charlie's fatal shooting surfaced, and according to those who reviewed it, it suggested there was no full autopsy had actually been completed. That detail flipped the whole conversation upside down. Now, there's another serious claim circulating. Some sources allege Erika chose cremation quickly, even though people close to Charlie say he had expressed different wishes in the past. It gets more complicated because one insider claims Erika did not consult Charlie's parents before making that call. No meeting, no group discussion, nothing, at least according to those speaking out. That alone has fueled even more speculation online. Then there are the unanswered questions about the scene itself. Reports say the area was cleared quickly, and critics point out that no bullet was reportedly recovered. Later, video footage began circulating, and some observers argue there is no clear public proof confirming the specific caliber that was mentioned.
Proved even more once he was assassinated.
On top of that, Erika's statements about the medical review continue to face scrutiny from online commentators. Supporters say she may have been overwhelmed and grieving. Critics say the timeline does not add up. If there truly was a full autopsy, why has that become such a debated issue? And why are there conflicting claims about what happened that day? That's where the timeline starts looking complicated, and people are demanding clearer answers. It has been over 5 months since Charlie Kirk's fatal shooting, and people are still asking the same simple question: what actually happened to his body? No one publicly knows where he was laid to rest, and that silence has made some observers uncomfortable. To be fair, keeping burial details private after a high-profile death is not unusual at all. Many families choose privacy to prevent chaos, unwanted visitors, or security concerns. That alone would not normally raise suspicion. But critics say this situation feels different because of the earlier confusion surrounding Erika Kirk's public statements. They point to what they describe as inconsistent comments about Charlie's post-incident medical review. Because of that history, some online voices now view the privacy not as protection, but as something more strategic. That is their opinion, and it has definitely kept the conversation going. Back in December, during a CBS town hall interview, Erika stated she personally read the autopsy report and did not see anything suspicious. She said it confidently, as if the matter was fully settled. For some viewers, that sounded like closure. For others, it raised even more questions. Now, here is where things get complicated.
Do you believe that Tyler Robinson, your husband?
Yes, I do.
Why do you think it is so hard for so many people to believe that reality?
Because it's too simple. Again, everyone always has to think there's more to the story. Well, sometimes there's not. I've seen the autopsy report. I've seen our case pulled together. I've been in constant contact with our lawyers, the prosecuting team. I've seen it all.
A dispatch audio clip dated September 10th later surfaced online. In that recording, a man can be heard saying that Charlie did not undergo a full autopsy and that the death certificate was signed by a hospital doctor. According to those who reviewed the audio, it suggests there was no extended forensic examination, just the standard paperwork completed. Supporters argue there could be reasonable explanations. Critics argue the statements do not align, and that gap between versions is exactly why people are still talking. Let's pause for a second and really think about this. In a high-profile fatal shooting, a complete medical examination would normally be expected. In cases that serious, thorough reviews are often standard procedure. That is why critics keep asking, how could someone claim to have read a full report that, according to leaked audio, may not have even existed? That is the part people online cannot stop questioning.
So I did do the request. They emailed me back. He did not go in for an autopsy. The death certificate was signed by the doctor at the hospital.
Oh, okay. Can you just do a field clip documenting that?
I'm sorry, can I?
Can you just add a step to the case documenting that there was no autopsy?
And 287, I'll declare the hospital.
Now, to be fair, there are always possibilities. Let's say the dispatch audio was incomplete or misunderstood, and Charlie actually did receive a full medical examination. Erika has publicly said she personally reviewed the final report herself. If that is accurate, many observers argue it would make sense to release the document and put the speculation to rest once and for all. That kind of transparency could quiet a lot of the rumors fast. Yet, here we are nearly 6 months later, and no full autopsy report has been made public. That continued silence has become part of the conversation. On top of that, there has been no detailed ballistics report shared publicly that clearly connects the recovered rifle to the fatal injury. In a case this serious, people expect those technical details to be addressed clearly and directly. We'll circle back to the ballistics questions because that angle raises its own concerns. But first, there is another claim that has stirred debate. Some sources allege Charlie was cremated quickly after the incident, and critics say the timing felt rushed. That perception alone has fueled more online discussion. Charlie was taken to Timpanogos Regional Hospital, where doctors unfortunately were unable to save him following the incident. What happened after that is where the timeline continues to face scrutiny from those demanding more clarity. Then, less than 24 hours later, his casket was flown from Utah to Arizona on Air Force Two, with JD and Usha Vance accompanying Erika. That turnaround caught a lot of attention because it happened so fast. In situations involving high-profile violent incidents, timelines are usually examined closely, and people tend to expect a careful, step-by-step process. Here is why some observers are questioning it. In shooting cases, even preliminary medical examinations often take time. These reviews are typically thorough and carefully documented. Investigators usually record injuries in detail, gather forensic evidence, and follow strict procedures. So when everything appears to move quickly, it naturally leads some people to ask how the timing lined up.
For reasons unknown. What about Timpanogos Regional Hospital, the hospital where Charlie Kirk was declared dead? Well, there's pretty much no interest in Timpanogos Regional Hospital in the state of Israel because why would there be? Except this spike that happened about a month before Charlie Kirk's death. That is very...
If a full medical examination did take place, when exactly was it completed? That is the central question critics keep repeating. A proper forensic review in a high-profile case is not usually a simple in-and-out process. It can involve detailed documentation of wounds, toxicology testing, evidence collection, and multiple layers of review. In some cases, that can take days. Because of that, people are trying to understand how all of those steps would fit into what looks like a tight window of time. Now, add the cremation claim into the mix and the discussion becomes even more intense. Some sources allege that Charlie was cremated quickly. If that were accurate, it would mean there would be no opportunity for any future independent examination. Once cremation happens, no additional forensic testing can be conducted. That is simply the reality of the process. Supporters argue that fast decisions can happen during grief and logistical coordination. Critics argue the sequence of events raises valid questions. First, there were concerns about the scene, then confusion about whether a full medical review occurred. Now, debate about the speed of cremation. Each issue on its own might be explainable, but together they have created a timeline that many people are still trying to piece together. All of this has critics talking non-stop, and one big question still hangs in the air. If everything was handled properly, by the book, with nothing unusual and nothing to hide, why does the timeline feel so tight and controlled? That is what keeps people digging and refusing to let the story fade.
There's Erika Kirk, the blonde right there, with the sunglasses coming off the plane. Behind her are the Vances right there. The second lady and the vice president behind. That is Air Force, though, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
I could not see from our image if the flag was on that casket.
The speed of the transport alone has become a major talking point. If Charlie's body was moved that quickly, some observers argue it would mean one of two things. Either the medical review was completed at record speed, or it may not have happened in the way people assumed. In investigations involving violent loss of life, medical examiners and sometimes federal authorities typically keep the body on site long enough to document every forensic detail, every injury, every piece of physical evidence, every report. It is usually a careful and methodical process. In major public incidents, multiple agencies often coordinate for extended periods. Scenes are documented, evidence is collected, and examinations are conducted thoroughly. That kind of work does not usually wrap up overnight. Because of that, critics keep asking, why was Charlie's body moved so quickly? What factors led to that decision? And why did J.D. Vance personally escort the transport? Supporters may say it was a matter of respect and security. Critics say the organization of it all looked unusually smooth. Then there's the cremation claim circulating from unnamed sources. Some insiders allege that Erika ordered cremation immediately. That claim alone has fueled heavy online discussion. It's important to note these are allegations being debated publicly, not confirmed findings. On top of that, social media users have been analyzing an Instagram video Erika posted. Some viewers questioned whether the hands shown looked natural, pointing out lighting and color differences. Others noted the position of the hands seemed unusual, and some claimed there was no visible wedding band. Of course, video lighting, angles, and compression can easily distort appearance. Still, the speculation continues because people are examining every detail closely.
May not know about how a decedent is positioned in a casket. The head is tilted 15 right, meaning that the nose should line up with the right big toe. Traditionally, hands are placed with left over right to show the wedding band.
That missing ring detail especially sparked intense debate across social media. To be clear, online speculation is not proof of anything, but when small details start stacking up, people are going to talk. That's just reality. For a married man who was often seen wearing his wedding band, some viewers felt the absence stood out right away. Others pushed back. Some users argued the lighting in the video could have washed out the ring. Others said the camera angle might have hidden it completely. Digital compression and shadows can change how things look on screen. Even so, the questions kept rolling in and the comment sections stayed busy. Then there's the larger issue critics keep circling back to. If cremation truly happened immediately, as some sources allege, that would permanently close the door on any future independent forensic review. No second examination, no retesting, no outside expert conducting another assessment. Once that step is taken, the opportunity for additional analysis is gone. In high-profile passings, transparency often helps settle public concern. When documentation is limited or unclear, the noise tends to grow louder instead of quieter. And the timing continues to raise eyebrows. The hospital transfer, the rapid flight out of state, the reported cremation decision, each action on its own might have a reasonable explanation, but when you line them up back to back, the sequence feels fast, almost too seamless. Supporters say that could simply be crisis management moving quickly under pressure. Others question whether it was more strategic. At this point, none of these claims have been officially confirmed by investigators, and that distinction matters. What keeps the public engaged is the lack of clearly released documentation combined with earlier conflicting statements. Until official records are presented publicly, speculation is unlikely to slow down. That's just how high-profile cases play out in the digital age. And then there's the ballistics debate. Some firearms experts have publicly questioned whether the technical explanation presented matches what they would expect in that scenario. Recently, Candace released additional footage from a camera positioned behind Charlie at the moment he was struck. In the clip, the back of his neck is visible at the point of impact. Critics argue that detail raises further technical questions, while others caution that short video clips don't always provide full forensic context. One thing is clear, the conversation is not dying down anytime soon. According to individuals who say they reviewed the released footage, they did not see a clear exit wound or obvious external trauma in the visible frames. That's where the controversy really intensifies. The FBI has publicly stated that Charlie was struck from approximately 200 yards away with a .30-06 rifle. Critics argue a round with that level of power would typically be expected to cause significant visible damage, especially at that distance.
What we have there, that's Charlie's necklace that's hanging. There's no blood on Charlie. There was absolutely no blood on Charlie. Not only did the bullet not go through, it didn't even cause any sort of destruction. And I follow that video until he goes down. There's nothing that we would expect to see from a .30-06. And again,
several firearms analysts, speaking publicly and in general terms, have recreated comparable ballistic scenarios. Some of them claim that a .3006 round fired from that range would likely pass through soft tissue under certain conditions. That is their professional opinion based on controlled demonstrations. Because of that, skeptics are asking a direct question. How could a projectile known for substantial force strike a human neck and not display the level of visible impact they anticipate? That perceived gap is what continues to fuel debate across online forums and discussion panels. This is where the split becomes clear. Supporters of the official findings emphasize that ballistic outcomes can vary widely. Angle of entry, bullet construction, velocity at impact, intermediate objects, and body positioning can all influence the final result. Real-world events do not always mirror controlled lab tests. That is a fair point, and many experts agree that unpredictable variables exist in live scenarios. However, critics say the issue is not just about theory, it is about transparency. In a high-profile case, the public often expects detailed forensic explanations. They're asking, where is the full ballistic report? Where are the trajectory analyses? Where is the comprehensive step-by-step breakdown explaining how the projectile behaved from discharge to impact? Those are the documents some observers believe would bring clarity. Instead, much of what has been shared publicly consists of summarized statements. For some people, that is sufficient. For others, it leaves too many unanswered questions. When you combine disputed ballistic interpretations, confusion about the medical review, the rapid transport timeline, and cremation allegations, the overall narrative becomes layered and complex. Each unresolved point feeds into the next, increasing public scrutiny. At the same time, it is important to separate online commentary from official forensic investigation. Video clips can be misleading depending on resolution, compression, lighting, and angle. Without full access to medical records, ballistic data, and physical evidence, outside analysts are working with limited information. That limitation matters. Still, the calls for greater clarity are growing louder. Until comprehensive forensic documentation is addressed publicly in detail, this case is likely to remain under intense examination and ongoing debate. Now, think back to when that Superman neck story started making the rounds. The claim suggested that Charlie somehow had a neck strong enough to stop a bullet. Turning Point spokesman Andrew Vett publicly said that remark came from the surgeon who attempted to save Charlie. That explanation was shared as fact at the time. But here's where the narrative shifts again. According to Candace, the so-called Superman comment did not come from the surgeon at all. She claims the statement actually came from Erika herself. That contradiction is what
he was the one
the conversation.
who issued that tweet and quoted the surgeon. I then told you that the surgeon never said that. That was not a quote from the surgeon. What I didn't tell you was that according to my source, which I trust very much, the person that was on that phone that said that quote was actually Erika.
If Candace's claim is accurate, people are asking why the remark was attributed to a medical professional in the first place. Who decided to frame a serious ballistic discussion with a superhero comparison? That wording alone caught attention, and for some critics, made the situation feel less clinical and more performative. Now, it's important to stress that these are competing claims. There has been no official confirmation clarifying exactly who originally made the comment. Still, critics are questioning who benefited from that framing. Was it meant to simplify a complicated medical explanation for the public, or was it an attempt to reduce technical scrutiny by turning it into something more symbolic? That's the angle skeptics keep pressing. Beyond that, some observers have also pointed to what they describe as delayed reactions in the footage from the scene. Others have commented on what they perceive as a lower amount of visible blood than they would expect. There are also questions raised about the initial movements of Charlie's security team. Critics argue those elements do not fully align with what they imagine in a severe gunshot scenario. Supporters caution that video clips do not always capture the full medical reality of an injury. Lighting, camera resolution, and angles can dramatically alter what viewers think they see. Medical responses can also vary depending on training and the specifics of the moment. Those factors matter and cannot be ignored. Even so, the video continues to be dissected frame by frame online. People analyze timing, how many seconds passed before reactions began. They examine how security responded. They study positioning, body language, and expressions. Every second is replayed and debated like it's a championship review. And that level of scrutiny shows no sign of slowing down. Some critics argue that in a real-life emergency involving a high-powered rifle, chaos usually breaks out instantly. Shouting, rapid movement, immediate lockdown. Instead, they claim the reaction in the available footage appeared delayed or unusually controlled. That observation has been repeated across forums, live stream breakdowns, and slow-motion analysis videos. People keep replaying those first few seconds, trying to decide whether what they're seeing matches what they would expect in a crisis like that. Then there's the debate over visible blood in public clips. Medical professionals often explain that blood loss can vary dramatically depending on the type of wound, internal damage, and exact trajectory. That is an important medical reality. However, skeptics argue that a neck injury involving a powerful rifle would typically produce more dramatic external signs. They say the visuals do not align with what they personally would anticipate in that scenario. That difference in expectations keeps the argument going strong. Security behavior has also become part of the discussion. Viewers are asking why certain protocols appeared to activate while others seemed slower to unfold. Were security responding to confusion in real time? Was there miscommunication in those first intense seconds? Or did the camera simply fail to capture the full scope of what was happening outside the frame? These are the kinds of questions that gain traction when public confidence starts to weaken. To be clear, none of these online claims have been officially validated as proof of wrongdoing. There has been no confirmed finding that contradicts the official investigation. But when every visual detail is debated and every public statement is compared against leaked audio and timeline discrepancies, the story struggles to settle. Without comprehensive documentation addressing these points directly, the controversy continues to circulate. When critics place all these concerns side by side, they argue the pattern feels organized organized rather than coincidental. That's their perspective. They claim the official narrative appears carefully managed instead of naturally unfolding. Supporters strongly reject that idea and maintain that investigations are handled by professionals and that selective clips and partial information can easily distort perception. At this point, many observers say the only way to reduce speculation is through clear, detailed reporting that directly addresses the timeline, the medical review, and the ballistic findings. Until that happens, people are likely to keep questioning and analyzing every frame they can access. In today's digital world, once doubt enters the conversation, it spreads fast and sticks around. If you think these questions deserve clearer answers, make sure you hit like, subscribe, share this video, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'll see you on the next one.